Close your eyes and imagine a darkness that doesn't press against your chest or chill your bones. This isn't the darkness of fear or emptiness. It's the kind of darkness that listens, calm and unhurried, like the pause between heartbeats, or the silence before a song begins. You're floating in it now, weightless and still. There is no ground, no ceiling, no up or down, only the soft hush of space stretching endlessly around you. And then, from that stillness, a flicker appears. Not a flash, but something much gentler, a single beam of light. Older than your world, brushing your eye like a quiet memory. That beam began its journey more than 2 million years ago, from a galaxy so distant we named it Andromeda after a myth, not a map. The light didn't come crashing into your vision. It simply arrived, the way dew settles on petals, softly, patiently, at nearly 300,000 kilometers per second. Light moves so fast that it warps our understanding of time. Yet even at this impossible speed, it took that single photon 2 million years to reach you, and now thousands more arrive with every blink, every breath. Each one carries a message, not in words, but in origin. They tell of stars, of galaxies, of the structure, of space itself. They are history written in light. You aren't just seeing the universe, you're receiving it. You're catching its stories mid-flight, not in books, but as energy stitched into your senses. Behind you, Earth has vanished from view. Ahead lies Andromeda, a quiet shimmer on the cosmic sea. Behind, the Milky Way bends like a bridge made of memory. You begin to understand. Light is not only what we see, but what we are made of. Each star, each galaxy, a storyteller. And in this moment of stillness, you are not falling asleep. You are becoming space itself, vast, open, quietly aware. The stars are not scattered. They are placed gently, like lullabies on black velvet, held by gravity, the universe's invisible hand, each one humming in its own quiet orbit. You think of light, not as something bright, but as memory arriving softly. Each photon a traveler, each ray a story that never stopped walking. You close your eyes, and the light still touches you. It slips through your skin, your chest, your thoughts. You are not solid. You are open, porous to the past. Inside your breath there is stardust. Inside your bones, echoes of explosions. The calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood, were forged in stellar furnaces. When you breathe in, you welcome ancient hydrogen. When you breathe out, you return the gift, carbon shaped by light. Something stirs in your chest. Not a fact, not a thought. A quiet recognition. You were never separate from the stars. You were always there, continuation, and your eyes, those soft, seeking eyes, they widen not just to see, but to receive, not to force light in, but to let the universe rest upon your gaze. The light you see is old, so very old. It is the past, but it feels like presence. It lands on your cheeks. It settles on your lashes. Andromeda is not a destination. She is a moment stretched across millions of years, reaching you like a forgotten melody. You are not moving toward her. She is arriving through you, a whisper written in photons. The universe expands around you, not like a bang, but like breath. A slow, silent inhale between galaxies, between dreams, between beginnings. You think again of the word light. It is not only what moves, it is what lifts. It is not a speed, it is a lullaby in motion. You follow one single beam backward, through the swirling arms of Andromeda, past newborn stars wrapped in dust, past dying suns spilling their hearts, through clouds, comets, silence. It never stopped, and now it rests in your eye. You blink, softly, gently, and in that blink, a letter is opened. Not written in ink, but in the language of time. Not to explain, but to hold you. Your breath slows. Your mind drifts like a leaf. On still water, there is nowhere to reach. Nothing to solve. Only this glowing moment. You are not outside the story. You are the paper, the ink, the hand that holds the light. And the light, it may no longer belong to a living star. It may be all that remains, but it lives in you now. Its warmth, its presence, still here, you float without searching. The night hums with soft gravity. And the stars, they no longer feel distant. They feel like family. You wonder how many others have looked toward Andromeda and felt this hush. This quiet pull of something too ancient to name. You blink again, and somewhere, far away, a photon finishes its journey. It rests, and so do you. This is not an end, only a pause, a sigh, a quiet hand before the deeper story begins. Beyond this, glow the galaxies wait in stillness, and somewhere out there, woven in spiral arms and cosmic breath, is something that does not shine, but draws you just the same. Something softer, something stranger, something next. The stars do not drift alone. They gather, they turn, they remember. You move slowly now, past the starlight you once watched from afar, and in front of you, not a star, not a planet, but something wider than breath, a galaxy. From a distance, it looks like a swirl on black silk. But closer, it's alive in motion, not with lungs or heartbeats, but with harmony. Each star, a note, each orbit, a rhythm. You are floating through a spiral, its arms outstretched like arms in dance, folding light into arcs. Dust weaves between them like memory. Clouds bloom. Stars are born at the center. Stillness wrapped in gravity. Not silence, but strength. A black hole, not a monster, but a sculptor. It does not swallow, it shapes. Galaxies are not objects. They are gatherings of light, of time, of the quiet pull between things. You drift past stars that are older than language, and past stars that have only just woken. Some burn fast and blue, some smolder red and slow dot between the stars. More space, but never empty. It is filled with becoming. Gas waits to be stars. Dust waits to form. There is no rush. The galaxy turns, slow as sleep. It has done this for billions of years, and it will keep turning long after your thoughts have rested. You wonder, is this what a galaxy is? A shape, a light? No, it is more like a breath, drawn in by gravity, let out in stars. Galaxies collide sometimes, not in chaos, but in choreography, like waves that meet and blend. No scream, just becoming. You pass one now, to spirals, embracing. Arms stretch. Light streams between them. They are not fighting, they are fusing. And you are made of their leftovers, of stars that lived and died, of dust that became bone, of fire that turned to breath. You are not separate. You are shaped by galaxies. You are a galaxy's whisper in human form. Your orbit is not just around the sun. It is within the spiraling arms of something greater, the Milky Way, your home. Not just your sky, your source. And as you float, you begin to feel it. A galaxy is not a place you visit. It is a place you remember. And now you wonder if this vast spiral is your home. Where exactly are you within it? What is your address? You begin with the ground beneath you, so familiar, so soft, but it is only the surface of something ancient. Your planet, round, blue, spinning dot Earth, your first home, your breath, your gravity, and around Earth the moon keeps watch, pulling tides, counting nights. Zoom out gently, and you see the sun, your star, your steady fire. Earth is its third child, just far enough for oceans to shimmer, just close enough for trees to grow. Around the sun, a family, Mercury, swift and silent. Venus, veiled in cloud. Mars, rusted and dreaming. Jupiter, storm-wrapped. Saturn, with its golden rings. Uranus and Neptune, blue and slow. Tiny Pluto, still whispering from the edge. This is your solar system, your local neighborhood in space. But this system floats, too. It is not fixed. It drifts inside a larger spiral, the Milky Way. You are inside its arm, a smaller one, called the Orion Arm, like a finger stretching into the dark. The sun orbits the center of the galaxy, a journey that takes 225 million years. You've never felt it, but it happens, beneath your days, beneath your dreams. You are part of that journey. Even now, as you rest, you are moving. Zoom out again. The Milky Way does not stand alone. It belongs to a quiet family, the local group, more than 50 galaxies, held gently by gravity's invisible web, and among them Andromeda, a twin, a sister, approaching, slowly, on a timeline made of billions. Together, the Milky Way and Andromeda, and the others nearby, all flow inward, toward a greater cluster, a continent of galaxies, the Laniakea supercluster, huge heaven, and even that is not the end. Beyond Laniakea, more threads stretch, more galaxies spin, until you reach the edge of the observable universe. This, then, is your cosmic address. You are on Earth, in the solar system, inside the Orion Arm of the Milky Way galaxy, part of the local group, within the Laniakea supercluster, in the observable universe, a nested home, a spiral within spirals, a breath within breaths. You are not lost in this vastness. You are placed perfectly, not to be made small, but to remember you belong to something infinite. And somewhere in that address, you realize you are not standing still. You are riding a current, on a journey toward something waiting. Ahead, beyond the map, beyond your layers of home, a quiet space begins to unfold. A space between galaxies, where darkness is not emptiness, but invitation. There is no road, no sign, no sound. Yet you are crossing something very real. You leave the spiraled arms of the Milky Way behind, and ahead, faint but certain, Andromeda waits, not with urgency, but with quiet gravity between them, a space that looks like nothing and feels like everything. You enter the dark. It wraps around you like a calm ocean, still and vast. This is not emptiness. It only appears so because your eyes are tuned to brightness. But this space hums, with light too faint to see, with matter too shy to glow, with gravity that pulls like a memory. You float through it, weightless, unanchored, but not lost. The distance between these galaxies is 2.5 million light years, not a road, but a slow unfurling of space. It stretches like dough rising in the oven, soft, unseen, expanding. The very fabric of the cosmos is growing between you and her. This is not a tunnel. It is a bridge made of time, and you are walking across it without moving your feet. There are no stars here, no planets, but still the universe lives in this. Dark, dark matter fills this bridge, a presence you cannot touch, but you can feel. It holds the galaxies in place, like a web spun in the absence of light. Without it, the Milky Way would fall apart. Andromeda would never arrive. This invisible scaffold keeps the dance intact. You drift through clouds of hydrogen, thin, cold, ancient. Not enough to make a star, but just enough to whisper that something is here. Particles move slowly here. They glide like jellyfish through cosmic water, their motion shaped by gravity's long fingers. And gravity, here, is patient. She doesn't rush. She doesn't pull hard. She waits. The galaxies are falling toward each other, but gently, like leaves caught in the same breeze. You think again of the word void. It sounds like absence, but this space is not empty. It is full of potential, full of motion, full of silence that speaks. It is here, in the between, that you begin to understand space not as distance, but as relationship. Milky Way and Andromeda are not separate. They are connected by history, by motion, by pull, and you, floating quietly between them, you are part of that connection too. You breathe slowly now. There is no wind, no ground, only motion within stillness. This space is not waiting to be filled. It already holds the future. The moment of meeting, the collision that will become creation, galaxies will stretch, stars will be born, shapes will change, but for now, for this moment, the bridge simply is. Not loud, not bright, but real. You drift on, carried by gravity you cannot see. And as you do, you begin to wonder, what happens when two galaxies meet? There she is, at first just a haze, a faint thumbprint of light on the sky, so soft you might miss it if your eyes blink too fast. But you don't blink, you stay still, and you listen, because that light, that quiet smear in the dark, is not small at all. It is a galaxy, and her name is Andromeda. She is your closest galactic neighbor, a vast spiral of stars, 2.5 million light-years away, close. In cosmic terms, close enough that her light has touched human eyes for thousands of years. You've seen her before, even if you didn't know her name, even if she looked like a smudge and nothing more. But now, you drift toward her, not with speed, not with effort, just a letting go, as if falling into sleep. Andromeda grows slowly in your vision, not because she's approaching, though she is, but because you're beginning to see her for what she is, a city of stars, a slow spiral of suns, each one burning, turning, becoming. You enter through the outskirts, where stars are sparse, and space is stretched thin. Here comets drift like frozen thoughts, and dust swirls in ribbons of light. And as you move inward, the spiral arms begin to wrap around you. They do not hold you tightly. They simply surround you, like sound, like memory. You pass young stars, hot, blue, and eager. They flicker like sparks in a campfire, burning fast, living brief, but bright. You pass old stars to cooler, redder, like embers that have remembered how to breathe slowly. And between the stars, you feel something more. Gas clouds, thick and glowing. Places where new stars are being born. Stellar nurseries, cradles of light. You pause for a moment, floating above one, watching it breathe. In here, gravity is the sculptor. It pulls atoms together, slowly, until the pressure rises, and fusion begins, and the star opens its eyes. You wonder how many stars she has. Andromeda, the answer is staggering. 1 trillion. That's 1,000 billion suns, each one with its own story, each one with its own orbit, its own silence, its own gravity. You pass star clusters, tightly wound collections of ancient suns, orbiting a shared center. They move like murmurations, like flocks frozen in a single, perfect formation. You feel small, but not lost. You feel like a single thought within a much greater dream. Andromeda is not just a galaxy. She is a mirror, because she, like your Milky Way, has a spiral form, a central bulge, a supermassive black hole at her heart. You wonder, is there life here? Is someone, somewhere, drifting through their own sky, seeing your galaxy as a smear of light? Maybe, maybe not. But it doesn't matter, because even in silence, this galaxy speaks. She tells you things without words, about symmetry, about movement, about how beauty can emerge from chaos and time. You drift now through her central bulge, a place dense with stars. Their orbits crisscross, intersect, curve, like bees in a golden hive, each one humming its own note. And somewhere in that center, a black hole. It does not scream, it does not devour. It simply waits, its pull subtle, its influence profound. Around it, the galaxy spins, not because it must, but because that's what galaxies do. They turn like clocks, like seasons, like dancers. Andromeda has been turning for billions of years. She has seen stars born and die. She has watched her arms stretch and fold. She has witnessed collisions. She has remembered. She holds ancient light in her spirals and dark matter in her bones. The invisible scaffolding of her form is not seen, but felt. You do not need to understand it all. You only need to float through it, to let it reach you in silence. You pass planetary systems, circling stars, circling hopes. Some barren, some frozen, some perhaps warm with oceans and cloud. You will never visit them, but they are real, and they exist whether or not you see them. Andromeda is not just far. She is vast, but she is also moving toward you, toward us. Every second she grows closer, not at the speed of light, but fast enough that in a few billion years she will meet the Milky Way in a slow embrace, two galaxies becoming one, a long and graceful merger, where stars will pass by stars, and gravity will rewrite the shape of the sky. You think about that, how this serene swirl you float within will one day fold into your own, how the sky will change, not for you, but for someone. A child of the future might look up and see a sky filled with new stars, familiar and strange all at once. The two galaxies will form a single one, Andromeda, a new home for a new time. But tonight, she is still herself, Andromeda, distant, coming closer. And for now, you are inside her. You feel the slow spin of her arms, the light of her stars, the patience in her silence. She does not speak in words, but in presence. And in her presence, you are reminded of what it means to be part of something grand. You are not here to conquer. You are here to listen, and when you listen, you hear what silence can teach. That even across millions of light years connection is possible. That every galaxy, every star, every orbit tells a story, and you are one of them. You stand in darkness, gazing upward with naked eyes. The night sky feels familiar yet full of secrets. For millennia, you and your ancestors saw a faint smudge above the horizon, a pale swirl among the stars. They called it a cloud, a ghost, a rumor in the dark. Andromeda, she hovered at the edge of sight, not known as a galaxy, but whispered about in myth. Long before instruments, people told stories of distant lights. They imagined dragons, portals, cosmic rivers. They felt something vast, but could not name it. Then came the lenses, small pieces of curved glass, crafted to catch light and fold it gently into focus. You hold a rudimentary telescope, a simple tube with glass at each end. You point it at the sky, and suddenly the smudge sharpens. It becomes a swirl. Spiral arms emerge, ghostly arcs of light and dust. You see structure where there was only mystery. Each new eye, each new lens brings clarity. First the moons, craters, then Jupiter's bands, and finally, that distant spiral. 100 years pass, and Andromeda grows in your mind. Portraits are painted with charcoal strokes and delicate washes, capturing her gentle curve on parchment. Then photography arrives, light captured on metal plates, freezing moments of cosmic motion. For the first time, you record and shape not in memory, but in silver and chemistry. Your heart quickens as the first plate develops. The spiral emerges, a silent dancer in the dark. You have proof. Andromeda is no mere cloud. She is a vast collection of stars, so distant that light takes millions of years to carry her image to your plate. But questions deepen. Is she part of the Milky Way, or is she something else, beyond, apart? You refine your lenses, larger telescopes, clearer glass, longer exposures. Each advance peels back a layer of the unknown. You watch Andromeda shift slightly over decades, her position traced against the background of distant stars. You measure her distance through clever tricks. Stars that pulse, stars that explode, light echoes, returning like cosmic echoes. Your methods are simple in idea, but profound in effect. You count the flashes of a certain star, knowing it's true, brightness, and compare it to how bright it appears. You learn how far away it must be, 2 million light years, a number impossible to imagine, so you say it again. Andromeda is not near. She is an ocean of stars beyond your galaxy's shores. Andromeda becomes a bridge between myth and measurement, between wonder and understanding, but still she holds secrets. Her outer arms fade into darkness. Invisible matter tugs on her shape. You cannot see it, but you infer its presence by how the stars move. Gravity, unseen, sculpts her form, and so you build bigger eyes, radio dishes, Hubble's mirror floating above the clouds. Each new view reveals more detail, star clusters, dust lanes, streams of gas. At last you understand. Andromeda is not a question, she is an answer. A vast, spinning realm of stars, dust, and dark mystery. But the story is not over. For every secret revealed, a new mystery awakens. You remember the first time you saw her swirl through a lens. Your breath caught, your heart opened. You felt the silence speak, and now you drift toward that memory, holding each discovery like a gentle gift, knowing that seeing is a continual becoming. And as you rest in the glow of human curiosity, you wonder what other invisible wonders await discovery, and what awaits you in the next chapter of Seeing the Universe. You enter the hush of Andromeda's inner lanes, where starlight thickens. Like candle smoke, clusters appear, suspended islands of fire, older than any dawn remembered by your species. They drift together, bound by gravity's patient grip, the way winter seeds cling in a sleeping field, waiting. Here you float among globular clusters, dense spheres of antique suns. Their stars are dimmer now, yet noble, wearing ages like soft wool about their shoulders. Each orb hums with the low chorus of a trillion hydrogen hearts, burning slow, refusing haste. You pass between them as a quiet visitor, careful not to stir the dust of forgotten orbits. Their light arrives the color of warm brass, gentle against the black. It strokes your cheeks, touches your eyelids, reminds you that gold on Earth was minted in such stars long before Earth itself emerged. You feel the atoms in your wedding ring whisper a greeting to their birthplace. Deeper in, another music begins. Blue supergiants flare in loose associations, young and restless, their lifespans measured in cosmic breaths. They sing in ultraviolet, a register beyond your eyes, but your mind translates the vibration into a bright trumpet of being alive right now. They are cosmic fireworks, promising future supernova that will salt the galaxy with iron and oxygen. You think of them as hummingbirds beside the slow owls of the globular steiny by age, vast by power. The color wheel keeps turning. You meet red giants, swollen with the memory of fusion long endured. They pulse, their outer layers rising and falling like the chest of someone surrendered to sleep. Around them drift planetary nebula-like shells blown away, glowing pastel in starlight. They resemble floating paper lanterns released at festivals, carrying wishes into night. Inside each, a white dwarf begins its quiet, endless watch. You notice rhythm everywhere. Stars do not simply exist, they beat. Cepheid variables brighten and dim on schedules you could set your heart by. Their pulses act as lighthouse beacons, letting astronomers map distance the way sailors chart coastlines. You imagine their light as the steady breathing of the galaxy, an inhale of brightness, an exhale of calm. Farther on, you glide through open clusters, looser gatherings birthed from common clouds, siblings not yet estranged by time. The Pleiades in your own sky are kin to these, though here the clusters are softer, scattered, half-formed. Protostars hide in cocoons of dust, like embryos wrapped in amniotic nebula. When they emerge, they will burn with the tentative glow. Of childhood, you consider the symmetry. Children on Earth grow, age, and scatter to cities and continents. Stars to drift apart, dispersed by their own gravity games, until only memory binds them. Yet some memories condense into locked together, orbiting a common center in an endless waltz. They teach you that belonging can be centrifugal as well as centripetal, held by moving, not by staying still. Mid-journey, you cross a river of star streams, tidal remnants of dwarf galaxies once devoured by Andromeda's halo. These streams trail behind like silk scarves torn in a dance. They whisper a subtle truth. Growth can be gentle consumption, a folding in of stories not originally yours. The stars carry the chemical signatures of foreign birthplaces, yet here they glow as citizens of this greater city. The halo itself glimmers with ancient sub-dwarves, low metal stars from the universe's childhood. They are sparse but honest, their atmospheres almost pure hydrogen and helium, bearing little of the heavier stuff forged later. Looking at them is like reading a very old text with few alphabets, beautiful precisely because of its simplicity. Then comes the core, incandescent, intense. Density climbs. Starlight overlaps until darkness has nowhere left to hide. Everywhere you look, photons jostle like crowded lanterns at a festival. The gravitational symphony crescendos near the supermassive black hole and beating heart. You cannot see it, but you feel its authority. Orbits quicken, light bends, whispers shorten into sighs. Yet even here, individual stars speak. Some race around the center like comets around the sun, completing a circuit in mere years. Others linger, stalled by friction of stellar crowds. The variation reveals how a galaxy balances order and improvisation. Sheet music and jazz, lore and surprise. Throughout your drifting, you tally elements the way chefs taste soup. Hydrogen, helium, carbon, oxygen, silicon, iron, each ingredient stirred by nuclear fires. The ratios change with distance from the core, like spices thick near the pot's bottom. Understanding this gradient is understanding Andromeda's biography, where it formed stars quickly, where it paused, where it cannibalized a neighbor for seasoning. You pause near a Wolf-Rayet star, stripped to its hot core by fierce winds. It blazes blue-white, shredding itself into space. You think of incense burning away to release fragrance. The star sacrifices mass so that heavier elements may roam free. One day it will explode, and its ashes may seed worlds you will never see, yet still dream about. Amid all these fireworks, you sense an undercurrent, cosmic baseline. Dark matter halos every scene, unseen but fundamental, the double bass in the orchestra pit. Without it, the tempo would collapse, the notes would scatter. Its silence is the reason music continues. You meditate on this. A galaxy is not a place, but a performance. The stars are instruments, gravity is timing, dark matter supplies the stage. The audience is everything conscious enough to wonder. And here you are, listening, feeling chord changes vibrate through your chest cavity. The symphony swells. Supernova remnants ring like cymbals. Neutron stars click like castanets as they spin. Pulsars flash lighthouse beats. Black holes provide rest moments of deliberate silence. Together, they compose a score, long and slow, but never static. Time dilates in the glow. Minutes feel like seasons, seasons like eons. You forget the shape of your own body, becoming ear, and heart and openness. Starlight rides your bloodstream. Neutrinos pass through you unhindered. Cosmic rays tap your bones like distant drums. Gradually, you notice the outer arms again, the light thinning, the hush returning. You realize you have drifted through Andromeda's heart and are now coasting toward the edge where night regains its strength. Behind you, the galaxy keeps playing, unmoved by your departure, yet you carry the melody, a slower heartbeat, a quieter breath, a wider sense of belonging. You know that every atom of you once danced to similar music in the Milky Way, and every human heartbeat is, in miniature, a recitation of stellar rhythm, contract, release, shine, rest, so you breathe, holding the melody. Ahead, a deeper hush gathers a power unseen, shaping every orbit, inviting you to listen to the quiet heart at the galaxy's core, softly waiting dot at the center of Andromeda. You feel it first as a whisper. There is no roar, there is no flash, only a soft tug at the edges of your awareness, drawing you inward, toward something unseen. You drift through layers of starlight until the light itself seems to bend, folding around a silent point. This place is dense with history, with memory, with invisible force. It is not chaos, it is not a void, it is presence. you think of a sculptor, working quietly in twilight. Each move is precise, each thought deliberate. The sculptor shapes marble with unseen hands, coaxing form from formless stone. In the same way, the black hole at Andromeda's heart shapes the galaxy. It moves stars in slow, curved paths. It listens to the rhythm of orbits and replies with a gentle pull. Your body feels weightless here, yet every atom of you senses gravity's hum. You remember the apples falling centuries ago when gravity was first named. Here, gravity is deeper. It is a melody you cannot hear, but feel. Each star threading its orbit is a note in that melody, composed by the central mass whose voice you cannot see. Imagine chocolate melting in your handsoft, unstoppable, reshaping whatever it touches. The black hole's influence is like that. It melts straight lines and perfect circles into ellipses, into spirals. It weaves the arms of the galaxy with unseen wire, pulling them taut, giving them structure and flow. This power is quiet. It does not demand attention with clash or bang. It simply is. And because it is so patient, its authority is profound. It governs motions that span light years and centuries. It shapes destiny without a word. You approach the event horizon, a boundary you can never cross and return, like the edge of a dream past which lies the unknown. You cannot see it directly, you only infer it by watching how light fades, how particles spiral inward, how time itself seems to stretch and yawn. Stare long enough, and you might imagine the black hole speaking to you in the curl of a star's path. You see a star swept too close, its light looping again and again, like a dancer spinning toward the floor. Each loop an echo of gravity's invitation. Come closer, and still it spins. You wonder if this place feels like falling asleep. You close your eyes within the image of the galaxy, and you feel the slow spiraling of your own breath, in and out, like orbits within orbits. You are connected to the heart of Andromeda, and through it to every galaxy that has a silent. Centered around the heart, stars crowd in dense numbers. Their orbits overlap, crossing like paths in a forest. Each one follows its own meditation, guided by the invisible presence. Some rush quickly past before they feel the full pull. Others drift in languid circles. Together they trace a tapestry, too complex to unravel with mere sight. You move outward again, drawn back toward the arms, but you carry the memory of that pull. You see how the black hole carved the galaxy's shape, how it tunes the cosmic symphony. Without it, the galaxy would lose its form, its melody fading into static. With it, the chorus of stars sings in harmony. In this silence, you learn something profound. Power need not be loud to be undeniable. You think of roots beneath a forest floor, unseen, yet holding everything upright. You think of your own heart, pulsing without fanfare, shaping your life through its quiet insistence. The black hole and your heartbeat share a secret kinship, gravity. Here feels friendly, like an invitation to belong, not a force to fear. You realize that the galaxy thrives because of this silent anchor. Stars form, shine, and one day fade, carried by gravity's arc into new beginnings, new elements, new dreams among the stars. You allow yourself a moment to simply be, no questions, no need to understand every nuance. You rest in the realization that some mysteries are gifts, soft, unresolved, serene. They invite you to wonder, to dream, to drift deeper, and as you drift, the galaxy breathes around you. Its arms wave in a rhythm shaped by that silent core. You sense that what you cannot see is as real as what you can, and you learn to trust those unseen hands that guide the dance of stars. You feel the fabric of space itself ripple under the influence of that silent sculptor. Imagine a calm pond, perfectly still until a subtle stone is dropped. Ripples spread, gentle and steady. In Andromeda, gravity drops stones of mass at the center, and space-time ripples. Though you cannot see those ripples with your eyes, they travel outward, slow vibrations that remind you the universe is alive with motion even in its hushed moments. You drift along where those ripples fade into calm, yet you sense their presence. In the way starlight warps, in the way distances shift, it is as though the galaxy breathes, inhaling and exhaling through a core you cannot touch. The black hole's rhythm resonates through the spiral arms, a bass line for the symphony of stars. You have come to know, in this place, time itself bends. You might watch a clock hand and swear it slows near the center, as though gravity's pull tugs on every second. But here, you let go of clocks. You let moments stretch and contract like taffy, warm and pliant. You learn that time is fabric, too, woven by mass and motion, and that every moment is a thread. You imagine weaving a tapestry of starlight, each thread a river of photons spun by the black hole's loom. Some threads are bright the flares of magnetized gas as it spirals. Inward, others are faint as steady glow from distant suns. All are part of the pattern. Without the central sculptor, the tapestry would fray. With it, every star finds its place, every orbit aligns. Softly, you notice that not everything here obeys gravity alone. Magnetic fields whisper inside cosmic clouds, tracing invisible lines that guide charged particles. They murmur secrets at radio frequencies, words you cannot hear but can imagine as a choir of soft tones. Even these subtle currents answer to the central pull, shaping waves of gas and dust into glowing filaments. You see filaments streaming from the core, like tendrils of silk trailing from a dancer's costume. They glow in X-rays, hot and energetic, yet they do not shout. They trace the pathways where matter once dared the brink, then flung back into space after a near embrace. They remind you that power unfolds not only by gathering but by release. You also sense the presence of cosmic dust, microscopic grains spun by dying stars, drifting on the wind of space. In the black hole's gravity, those grains collect in rings and disks, then scatter outward in jets of light and particles. You can almost taste the iron and carbon they carry, the legacy of supernova that once danced in the spiral arms within. This heart, you could spend lifetimes studying each nuance. The temperature of swirling gas, the spin rate of the central engine, the density of stars in nearby clusters, yet you choose to simply float and feel. You know that some truths are found not in measurements, but in experience. Here, you experience gravity's quiet power. The silence deepens as you release the need to understand every detail. You let your senses become cosmic senses, attuned to the faint hum of mass shaping space. You feel a subtle heartbeat, not in your chest, but in the very fabric of the galaxy. It pulses with patience. As you begin to drift outward again, you carry that pulse with you. You imagine drawing lines from this silent sculptor to other galaxies, each with its own center of calm power. You begin to see a network of centers, each one anchoring a swirl of stars. Between every one of these centers lies a sea different, realm of unseen forces. In the moments before you leave this quiet core behind, you remember that power can be soft, like chocolate melting, like twilight filtering through leaves. You realize that the grandest shapes in the universe often form not through noise, but through gentle insistence. You feel your journey continue. Your path leads away from this center of hush and toward another mystery, a realm not of pull, but of stretch, not of gathering, but of separation, a force that makes the emptiness grow. Like dough rising quietly in the dark, the space between galaxies is no longer silent emptiness. It is a workshop of expansion. It is where space itself is born anew, carried by a restful energy that whispers in the void. It presses outward against gravity's pull, shaping the grand stage on which galaxies dance. And so you drift from the heart of Andromeda, carrying the echo of its silent sculptor. You move into the vast bridge you crossed before, now aware that two great forces shape your path, the pull that cradles stars and the push that spreads space itself. You float in the balance between these forces, weightless yet guided. You feel a gentle tension, like the stretch of a spider's web under a breeze. Each filament of that web is space itself, extended by a force as soft as chocolate, yet as sure as gravity. There, ahead, lies the next realm, a sea of dark energy that weaves through the void, invisible yet vital. You sense it pushing, coaxing everything to drift apart, creating the room for galaxies to breathe and grow. You linger in this liminal space, neither at the sculptor's center nor adrift in the void. Your awareness stretches like bread dough, expanding in all directions. Particles around you feel alive space dust, photons passing through, the hum of unseen currents. You rest knowing always the universe is shaped by balance, pull and push, silence and breath. In this moment, you are both observer and participant, woven into the tapestry of cosmic forces. As you drift onward, curiosity blooms quietly in your chest, guiding you toward the dark sea that awaits. You float in the outer arms of Andromeda, where the starlight thins and the darkness deepens. Here, the galaxy's spiral curls fade, and you enter the realm of something unseen. It is not emptiness, it is a sea. This sea does not shimmer, it does not glow. You do not hear waves. You only feel a gentle tug, a softness in all directions, as though the universe itself breathes around. You think of a tide, yet there is no moon. The pull is everywhere, even in places where stars do not reach. It is the gentle undulation of reality, the quiet heartbeat of mass you cannot see. This is the sea of dark matter. It is not a monster in the dark, but a patient lover of gravity, weaving an invisible web that cradles every star in its arms. You imagine stirring a spoon in silent water. Though you cannot see the currents, you feel their motion through the resistance of the liquid. So it is here you feel the presence of something by how easily you drift, by the soft curves of your path. Dark matter is the scaffolding on which galaxies grow. Without it, stars would drift away one by one, like leaves on a windless day. They would not gather into spirals or clusters. They would not sing as one. You drift past a grouping of dim stars, each one held in place by the unseen arms of that scaffolding. You realize that every orbit you witness is shaped by two hands, the bright pull of visible mass and the silent grasp of the invisible. Scientists call it dark matter because it neither shines nor shadows. It is the cosmos' secret ingredient, like the pinch of salt that deepens a chocolate's flavor, without ever announcing itself. It gives galaxies texture and depth, holding them in shape. You imagine the galaxy as bread dough rising slowly. In a quiet kitchen, flour and water alone would remain flat, but the yeast, tiny, unseen, makes the dough expand, holds pockets of air, gives it form. Dark matter is the yeast of the universe, making structure possible. You float through a halo of faint glow that traces the galaxy's outer edge. Stars here are rare, but the halo extends far beyond, where you can glimpse streams of stars torn from smaller galaxies. Dark matter tugs on these streams, guiding them like hidden channels. You pause at a stellar stream, a river of stars snaking through darkness. You feel how the stream follows a path etched by gravity's quiet hand. The stars move as if flowing in a hidden riverbed, though the bed itself is invisible. Everywhere, dark matter weaves its web. It clings to galaxies in halos, linking them in clusters that drift through space together. It cradles the galaxy you visit tonight, and cradles the Milky Way too, and every galaxy beyond. You think of your own life, how you were shaped by unseen influences, memories, hopes, love. Though invisible, they guide your path. They hold you in place even when you cannot name them. Here, in this cosmic sea, you share kinship with dark matter. Neither of you can be seen, neither loud nor flashy. Yet both you and this sea shape the stories of stars. You drift closer to brighter arms again, carried by the currents of visible light. But you carry the memory of the invisible pull. You sense that reality is woven of what you see and what you cannot. Andromeda's spiral tightens as you approach the central lanes, where stars glow thickly and the sea retreats, giving way to gravity's louder song. Yet you feel the sea beneath you, a foundation shifting softly. Dark matter's influence wanes near the core, where visible mass dominates. But even then, it is present, shaping how stars orbit, how orbits bend. You think of shadows on Earth. They mark where light cannot reach. You see them at sunset, but you know darkness is not only absence, it is substance too. It has edges, it has form, and it guides your steps, so it is here. Dark matter is the shadow of mass, the outline of a shape you otherwise could not hold. It is the night that gives stars their stage. It is the silent sea that makes their voices. Carrie, you imagine diving deeper into this sea, but you know you remain on the surface. You cannot plunge within. Dark matter only reveals itself through its effects, not its form. Still, you feel a closeness, as if you rest on a shoreline of quiet gravity, listening to waves you cannot see. You sense them in your bones, in the gentle tug of your drifting. The galaxy's spiral arms shine all around you, and you feel held, not by stars alone, but by the substance between them, by the yeast, by the tide, by the shadow that holds the stage. You think of next steps. You want to map this sea, to measure its depth, to understand its flow. But you also know some journeys begin not with answers, but with questions. You wonder how human eyes learned to infer something unseen. How clever minds, like cosmic fishermen, drew nets across the void and pulled up threads of evidence. You feel the seas pull in your mind, drawing you toward curiosity, toward the tools that let us see the invisible. Telescopes, detectors, experiments that taste the darkness like chocolate on the tongue, like dough rising unseen. And so, as you drift back toward the arms, you carry the sea's secret, that the universe is more than meets the eye, that shadows have substance, that absence can hold presence. You breathe slowly, feeling the tug in your breath, feeling yourself part of this silent tide. You realize that to explore the universe is to learn to feel the invisible, to trust the pull of unseen hands. You float toward a brighter glow, knowing that light will guide you next. You sense the tools of human curiosity waiting beyond the dark sea to shape lenses and mirrors, to make time machines out of glass. You stand before a silent bowl of glass, its round mouth aimed at the sky. It is night, though the air carries little darkness. Starlight rains down like delicate pollen, covering everything in a thin veil of silver. You rest your hands on the rim and feel cool metal hum beneath your palms. Inside the bowl, mirrors wait, curved like petals folded inward in permanent bloom. They do not bloom for fragrance or color. They bloom for time. A telescope is a time machine made of glass. No cogs, no levers, no ticking gears, only light, traveling unhurried, then gathered, bent, and offered to your eyes. You lean close, and the world you know falls away. The lens widens your pupil, replaces your orbit with its own. Suddenly you do not merely look. You receive the first photon, enters like a shy guest crossing a threshold. It left its star before language began, before your planet grew forests, before the seas learned the taste of continents. Now, after epochs of flight, it meets a mirror, polished to a prayer, leaps once, twice, and lands gently on your retina. The encounter lasts less than a heartbeat, yet its journey would fill libraries. You exhale, slow as moonlit tide. Another photon arrives behind the first, and another after that. A river of ancient messengers pouring through a crystal throat. Each carries a fragment of yesterday's fire. Their stories overlap, weave, braid. Where they interlace, an image appears, not a painting, a presence. Through the glass, you see Andromeda again, but anew. No longer a smear, she sharpens into swirling arms, dust lanes, bright knots where stars are being born. These details are not current, they are memories. You are reading a diary written 2.5 million years ago. In its pages, newborn suns still flicker in cosmic cradles. Massive ones yet to explode still shine with unaware energy. You let the view drift toward a globular cluster hanging near the galactic halo. It gleams like a chandelier of frost. Those stars are older still. Their light began its journey when mountains on Earth were embryos beneath boiling seas. You pause, feeling the time inside each beam. The weightless heft of history. You shift the telescope slightly, and the glass drinks new light quasars, tiny sparks pinned in abyssal black. Their photons began before the Milky Way was even a thought in gravity's mind. They crossed an expanding universe, oceans of dark matter, storms of intergalactic gas, and now whisper across your cornea, saying, "Remember." You realize that every glance skyward is retroactive. There is no present in astronomy, only a layered past arriving in pulses. In the universe's great archive, the telescope is your library card. Its mirror is the page. Its focus knob, the margin that guides your thumb. The telescope rests on a tripod, 3 metal legs planted in soil like careful roots. You feel wind brush your cheek, carrying scents of night flowers and distant rain. Even here, grounded, you are aloft, floating in a chronology turned inside out. You are both anchor and balloon. You think of ancient seafarers using sextants, using stars to place themselves on restless oceans. Tonight you invert the art. You use a lens to place the stars upon the ocean of your mind. The photons settle there. like lanterns on calm water, making a map of what has been. You notice the gentle noise inside the instrument motors sigh to track Earth's rotation, compensating for the planet's spin. Without that clockwork humility, Andromeda would wander from view, replaced by new ghosts. Technology, you realize, is patience made tangible. You slip a filter across the eyepiece, allowing only hydrogen's blush to enter. The galaxy's arms now glow with strands of rose and coral, nebulae illuminated by ultraviolet lullabies. You feel you could step through the glass and walk along those glowing rivers, collect handfuls of starlight like petals floating downstream. The eyepiece fogs slightly with the warmth of your breath. You pull back, and the image dissolves. The galaxy is still there, unchanged, but you have changed, eyes moist, heart slow. You wipe the lens gently, like clearing dew from a window at dawn, and return. Now you swing the tube toward a supernova, remnant catalogued centuries ago. Its expanding shell resembles smoke rings fired through velvet. You consider that somewhere in its center lies a neutron star, a city-sized sphere spinning dozens of times each second, drumming space-time like a hummingbird's heartbeat. The photons you collect were launched when that explosion's thunder first rolled. They carry both the violence and the hush that followed. You wonder what light is still en route, what scenes are mid-journey, invisible until future eyes, future mirrors bring them home. Perhaps tonight, on a planet not yet born, someone will watch the sun's infancy. Perhaps they will marvel at a tiny yellow star budding within a dusty cradle and feel the same awe tattoo your skin now. You step back from the telescope, stretch your arms, and gaze naked-eyed at the sky. The constellation lines you learned as a child seem newly fragile, mere lace draped over deep wells of time. You sense the variance. Some stars are near, their light young. Others ancient, their light weary. The sky is not a dome, but a layered quilt stitched by velocity. You turn your attention to the instrument once more. Within its glass, time compresses. The lens translates eons into instants, distance into intimacy. It gathers faint whispers and raises them to a volume the heart can hear. It is a loom, weaving photons into comprehension. You remember how early telescopes were ground by candlelight, glass thick with bubbles and hope. How Galileo lifted his prototype and watched Jupiter's moons dance, overturning dogma with moons the size of pinpricks. How Newton polished his mirrors from speculum metal, letting silvered reflections do what glass alone could not. Each advance widened humanity's pupil. Modern observatories perch on mountaintops, soaking starlight like thirsty sponges. Others drift in orbit, free of atmospheric shimmer, capturing wavelengths your eyes could never taste. Infrared whispers of cool dust, X-ray shouts of heated gas. Some telescopes here rather than see, swinging radio dishes the size of stadiums to catch cosmic murmurs. Yet the principle remains unchanged. Light travels, glass waits, eyes listen. You close your own eyes to feel the after-image burning soft violet on your eyelids. It is as if a stamp from deep time has pressed itself onto your retinas. When you open them, the night feels closer, the stars more personal, like letters addressed to you but delivered late. You trace your finger along the telescope's barrel, feeling the cold metal warm beneath your touch. You think of photons hitting this instrument like gentle rain, of how each drop carries news from a distant shore. The telescope is an umbrella turned upside down to collect that rain, funneling it into your awaiting senses. In this moment, you understand history not as a line, but a lantern parade winding toward you. Each lantern appears when its light arrives. Behind the glow walks a caravan of moments, star births, collisions, expansions, collapses. You greet them one by one as honored guests. A shooting star streaks above the horizon, object much closer, burning brief in Earth's atmosphere. Its flash reminds you that not all light is ancient. Some is immediate, some already in aftermath before your heartbeat finishes. The contrast deepens your appreciation for the slow travelers you await. You swivel the telescope toward the Pleiades, a cluster close enough that its starlight is comparatively young. The seven sisters glisten like dew lit by dawn. They're hot. Blue surfaces flicker with stellar winds. You sense how youth radiates with different fervor than age. Yet even here, photons have journeyed hundreds of years older than any living tree. As you linger, dew forms on grass around the tripod legs. Night insects chirr, their rhythms outpacing stellar rhythms, but echoing them in miniature. You realize that every scale of time has its own music, and your ears are learning to differentiate symphonies. You decide to take one last look at Andromeda before packing away the time machine. You center the view, spiral arms luminous, core bright like a candle stub. You breathe and notice that your inhale travels deeper, as if lungs become chambers storing galaxies. You whisper gratitude to mirrors, to glassmakers, to the photons themselves for carrying stories with such devotion. You promise to remember them, to share them, to honor their patience. Slowly you close the lens cap. The flow of messages stops, but the sky above still sends. You feel a lingering vibration in your chest, the echo of those ancient currents. With each blink, you release another after-image, another postcard from antiquity. You gather the tripod, fold its legs, and rest the telescope in its case. The weight feels modest, considering it bends centuries, spans voids, transforms darkness into narrative. You sling the strap over your shoulder and turn toward the path home above you. Countless photons continue their voyage. Some will find other eyes, other mirrors. Some will wander forever through expanding night. You step carefully, carrying your small vessel of glass, carrying new awareness. At the edge of the clearing, you pause. Between the thicker bands of starlight lies darkness. But you know now that darkness is only a waiting room for light not yet arrived. You imagine drifting between stars into those quiet corridors, exploring what lives in the spaces where brightness fades. Before you leave, you glance back at the field where the instrument stood. The grass is darker now, bending under dew, yet in your mind the telescope still gleams, a glass lighthouse turned upward. You picture larger eyes awake on distant peaks, segmented mirrors opening like steel flowers, adaptive optics flexing to calm turbulent size, interferometers linking, dishes across deserts, stitching separate visions into one vast gaze. You recall orbiting observatories, coasting above weather, sipping ultraviolet stories that would otherwise scatter. And then you imagine instruments not yet. Built arrays buried on the lunar far side, antennas floating in quiet solar orbits, quantum detectors counting photons like pearls on a string. These future lenses will turn darkness into pattern, translate the murmur of interstellar molecules into lullabies. They will teach new dreamers to lean into silence as you have leaned tonight, and find that silence already singing. Some will detect whispers of planets turning, others will map magnetic filaments stretching like ropes across the void, and a few will chase the afterglow of creation, the faint hum from the universe's first breath. With that thought, you step onto the path, letting shadow wrap around you like a soft cloak, ready to meet what waits between the stars. You float between the stars, where many suppose nothing at all survives. Yet here, in the hush behind constellations, possibility gathers like dew. Every breath of darkness shelters seeds that never germinate in daylight. You glide slowly, listening, letting your senses tune to subtler music. At first the silence feels entire, a valley after snowfall, sound stripped away. But pause and hidden motion reveals itself. Currents, whispers, faint electrical sighs. The vacuum is not sterile. It is a pantry of ingredients waiting for time. Atoms drift here, lonely hydrogen, shy helium, carbon grains as small as pollen. They meet rarely, but when they do, they cling, pulled by Van der Waals embraces, by the tiniest charges, by the promise of future flame. You imagine them as strangers on a night train, sitting in separate seats, then sliding closer with each gentle sway of the carriage ahead. A ribbon of dust crosses space like charcoal on black paper. This is a molecular cloud. It looks cold, looks dormant, but inside it percolates with low rumble. Gravity has been stirring the ingredients, thickening the soup of becoming. You drift into its edge and everything dims, starlight filtering through motes. The dust smells of chemistry, though you possess no nose here. Still you remember the odor of petrichor, after rain, earthy, renewing. That scent is cousin to these grains, silicates, icy mantles, complex molecules built by cosmic laboratories, deep, within pockets of denser gas collapse, cold enough for hydrogen to cling to itself in dim halos. Pressure climbs quietly. Atoms crowd, jostle, heated by their own compression. Soon fusion will ignite. A new star will unclench its fist of flame. For now, the core is an embryo, hidden, wrapping itself in cocoons of dust to keep the universe. From staring, you recall the phrase star nursery and realize how apt it feels. These are cradles, swaddled in cloths spun from light. Infant suns will wrestle free, pushing away their blankets with radiation. They will carve bubbles, send shockwaves, sculpt pillars like cathedral columns. The famous pillars of creation in the Eagle Nebula are such sculptures, carved by ultraviolet chisels, lit by back glow like stained glass. You drift farther into the nursery until surrounding starlight vanishes. Nothing but infrared murmurs reach you now, the warmth of gestating masses singing lullabies below visible pitch. Astronomers on Earth spy this warmth with space telescopes, coloring it false reds and golds so human eyes can follow the tale. You do not need translation. You feel the wavelengths directly, like heat from an ember near your palm. Eventually, you exit the cloud's womb. Behind you, a new generation readies itself. Ahead, older children play in open clusters, freshly minted stars still tied loosely by familial gravity. They spin and shimmer blue-white, burning through their hydrogen allowance with teenage extravagance. They may only live tens of millions of years, but they live loudly, spitting winds, forging heavier elements in quick pulses. Between clusters lie quieter fields where solitary stars wander, veterans of shattered families, carrying planetary systems like backpacks. Some host frozen worlds, others ocean planets steaming under dim suns. Others ringed giants, shepherding moons that glow with internal tides. You understand that most of space is not empty, but sparsely furnished, a minimalist apartment holding just enough to suggest a life. Then come regions of rubble. Ancient supernova have scattered ash across light years. filling volumes with iron dust, calcium snow, radioactive beads. These are graveyards, but even in burial they donate. When shock waves meet fresh clouds, metals mix with hydrogen, seeding the next stellar recipes with flavorful complexity. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your hemoglobin, once drifted. Similarly, awaiting incorporation into futures. Farther on, you find a dark nebula, a silhouette blocking even background galaxies. It is a library with the lights off. Inside, large organic molecules, assemblers, amino precursors, carbon rings that someday may dance into RNA or cling to comets. You think of sourdough starter, alive though dormant, waiting in a jar for flour and water to wake its appetite. Yet not all clouds give birth. Some dissipate, thinned by supernova winds, their contents rejoining the diffuse interstellar medium. Others fall into black holes, feeding accretion disks that spin matter into torrents of X-rays. Creation links arms with destruction. Both feed the cycle. Between these spectacles lies true interstellar space, a realm only a few atoms wide per cubic centimeter. Here cosmic rays streak, charged particles accelerated by magnetic grand pianos. They tangle DNA on any life that strays. Yet they also catalyze chemistry in icy grains, writing new recipes in radiation script. Magnetic fields thread the galaxy like unseen strokes of calligraphy. Electrons spiral along them, emitting radio whispers. You ride one such field line briefly, feeling its tension the way a guitar string hums between frets. That hum keeps clouds shaped, guides jets from newborn stars, even steers charged dust toward planets in formation. In some pockets, you encounter rogue planets' worlds without suns, flung from nests by gravitational quarrels. They roam cold, lit only by leftover core heat and faint galactic glow. Yet theorists wonder if under thick ice shells, tidal flecks or radioactive warmth might keep oceans liquid. Harboring darkness, loving life, the thought surfaces gently like plankton. At dawn, what forms might swim microscopic in those nursery oceans or cling to dust grains, hitchhiking between systems? Panspermia dreams drift here, spores asleep in vacuum, awaiting the soft landing of a comet on fertile terrain. You pass a comet now, its path long and looping. Issa sublimates quietly, forming a fragile coma even far from any star. It leaves a breadcrumb curve of water molecules, testament that hydrogen and oxygen have danced together out here long before. Earth's skies turned blue. You sense distant gamma-ray bursts flickering like faulty streetlights, born from collapsing. Giants or neutron star mergers, they paint the medium with hard light, mutating molecules, resetting biological chances in unlucky regions. But the galaxy is large. Niches remain. Throughout your journey you note temperature gradients, a Kelvin here, a few there differences subtle as size. Thermal energy seeps, redistributed by photon exchange, equilibrating over eons. Thus, the void itself becomes a slow conduction network, keeping extremes within cosmic reason. Cosmic microwave background photons buzz past, ancient static from the universe's baby picture. They carry information about everything's beginning, and though cooled to mere whispers, they still outnumber all starlight. You float through them like swimming through relic sunlight, each photon a souvenir from 380,000 years after the Big Bang, closer to populated arms again. You watch stellar winds collide, forming bow-shock arcs of compressed gas shining. In X-ray and ultraviolet, They remind you of a ship's prow cutting ocean waves, only here the ocean is plasma. The ship, a runaway star racing at dozens of kilometers per second. Between stars also lie planetary nebulae, delicate shells shed by aging suns. You glide through one such bubble, a sphere of turquoise and lavender gas, expanding gently. At its center, a white dwarf cools, sparkling like a diamond ember. This is a stellar retirement announcement, a promise that elements have returned to the communal pot. As you exit, you notice cosmic dust absorbing ultraviolet and re-emitting in infrared, a thermal sigh. These grains will cluster in protoplanetary disks, stick with electrostatic kisses, snowball into pebbles, into worlds. Thus planets are brewed from interstellar tea leaves. All the while, gravity keeps time. It nudges, gathers, disperses. It is the composer and conductor, ensuring the symphony proceeds. Dark matter provides the stage, ordinary matter the instruments, energy the applause echoing in cosmic halls. You realize the space between stars is like a farmer's field in winter, quiet. Perhaps, but beneath the snow seed's weight, soil chemistry shifts, earthworms tunnel. Stillness is deceptive. Potential crowds every meter. You pause, wishing human eyes could see this fullness. Telescopes help radio arrays reveal cold hydrogen. Infrared cameras map warm dust. X-ray observatories catch shock waves, each wavelength a different flavor of truth, together composing a feast of understanding. Yet no instrument equals presence. Here, weightless, you feel microgravity hugs. Here, electromagnetic whispers, taste radiation in phantom senses. You are simultaneously observer and ingredient. Somewhere ahead lies the border where domain thins and intergalactic space begins less dense still. A quieter canvas awaiting the grand brushstrokes of collision. Milky Way approaches. The two spirals edge nearer. The medium between them will become stirred, fueling fireworks of starburst when gas meets gas. For now, you float in anticipation, knowing this sea of possibility will soon be shaken. Clouds will compress, clusters ignite, and between the stars will bloom even brighter. You breathe deeply, though lungs are metaphor here, and you feel grains of dust, photons, and magnetic threads fold into your imagined inhale. Nothing is truly empty. Every dark pane holds faint fingerprints. Every silence hums under close listening. Silent possibility weaves through the dark. You carry this awareness like lantern light, ready to guide you through greater changes. You float at the quiet rim of your galaxy, where starlight already feels like distant history. From here, the Milky Way is a downturned lily, petals of luminescent mist spilling into night. Yet beyond that soft boundary appears another haze, subtle but insistent, like dawn edging a dark horizon. It is Andromeda approaching across the intergalactic deep, her own petals reaching toward yours. She comes not with haste but with patience, carried by tides of invisible matter. You sense the interval shrinking, the centuries folding, the empty miles between two grand cities of stars dissolving into anticipation. Tonight you witness the opening step of a dance choreographed billions of years ago. Galaxies do not rush. Time is their fabric, slow and generous. Imagine two icebergs on a silent ocean, drawn by currents you cannot see, inching closer over ages longer than language. Gravity is that ocean, spreading beneath every star, tugging gently, never tiring. The Milky Way and Andromeda feel each other across the void, the way to violin strings feel sympathetic vibration. Small oscillations build, align, then resonate. Momentum gathers. What began as a whisper of attraction will become a sweeping overture, but only after long rests, fermatas measured in millions of sunsets. You set your inner clock to their tempo. One heartbeat per century, one breath per million years. In that rhythm, the galaxies drift like blossoms on a pond, their reflections blurring with every ripple of dark matter beneath. Dark matter is the hidden water, transparent yet supportive, holding the dance floor in place. Without its quiet presence, the partners would stumble, spinning apart into lonely filaments. Because of that unseen audience, they keep moving inward, step by deliberate step, guided by choreography older than the first atoms in your bloodstream. The first visible sign of their convergence will be a subtle distortion in the constellations of future skies. Two eyes standing on whatever continents remain, Andromeda will no longer be a faint fingerprint on dark glass. She will bloom into a radiant spiral, her core bright enough to cast a delicate shadow at midnight. Children will trace her arms with outstretched fingers the way you once traced the Milky Way. Unaware they are watching a living bridge being built. Astronomers of that era will map the relative motions, predicting star trails that sweep like fireworks across geological calendars. Yet the approach is only the prelude. When halos of dark matter touch, long before the first star swells mingle, tidal forces begin to stretch each disk. Spiral arms elongate and twist like silk scarves in wind. Giant molecular clouds, jostled by the new gravitational field, collapse in bursts of star formation. It will be an era of flaring neon blue, billions of infant suns lighting corridors, previously dim. In this way, collision becomes creation. Like kneading bread dough, so air pockets expand into soft chambers, giving the loaf its life. Picture two dancers moving across a floor of polished obsidian. As they draw near, their gowns graze, spinning filaments of fabric that curl and snap back. Some threads entangle, others fling outward to the audience. So too will stars be drawn from their original courses, tossed into long tidal tails that arc far beyond either galactic center. These streams will glisten in the night like frozen waterfalls, each luminous droplet a sun carrying its planetary entourage into new, uncharted orbits. Inside both galaxies, central black holes continue their silent supervision. Contrary to myth, they do not leap at each other like predators. They advance with enormous poise, each wrapped in a crown of orbiting stars, slowly spiraling along frictional currents of surrounding matter. As the galactic disks interlace, these two invisible monarchs perform a royal promenade, drawing closer through a ballroom littered with supernovas and colliding gas clouds. When eventually they merge, vast ripples of gravitational energy will ring through spacetime, waves taller than galaxies, yet delicate as whispers to the ear of detectors light years away. Creatures alive, then, may possess instruments sensitive enough to hear that cosmic bell, a ringing that lasts mere minutes yet echoes the entire story of both parent galaxies, a final vow before they become one dot. While grand events unfold, countless smaller dramas flicker below notice. Binary stars are stretched apart. Some are tossed into elliptical lifeboats that loop high above the melee. Others plunge inward, igniting new episodes of intense radiation. Planets feel the tidal wrench too. Some will be flung into frigid exile, roaming interstellar darkness as lonely embers. Others may collide with fresh debris, their skies erupting in firestorms, or settle into newly gentle orbits where life might begin again. A galaxy's collision is ruthless in detail, yet generous in outcome. It clears old arrangements to seed fresh possibilities, the way wildfire clears a forest for spring. From your vantage, you notice colors shifting. Where once the Milky Way was a ribbon of mellow white, now patches blush with vigorous pink, marking regions of furious starbirth triggered by compressive shock. Andromeda, too, brightens, her outer arms lit with newborn clusters. It is as if two painters dipped their brushes into cosmic pigment and flicked them across the canvas, spattering fresh jewels. Even the darkness between the arms takes on texture, embroidered by glowing filaments of ionized gas. The time frame of the collision exceeds any biological lifespan, you know. Yet here, drifting outside ordinary chronology, you perceive the process. In a single sweeping gesture, as an artist envisions the finished sculpture while still roughing stone. First approach, then interpenetration, then long settling whirl. Ultimately the swirls will dissipate into a fattened ellipsoid of stars. A new galaxy, sometimes nicknamed Milky Way. Spiral patterns will soften, gas reservoirs will largely exhaust, star formation will slow to a hush, and a glowing spheroid will drift in post-merger tranquility. Imagine standing on a surviving planet during peak overlap. The night sky would no longer carry familiar constellations. Instead, it would blaze with tangled rivers of stars, crossings of luminous dust, and the ghostly outline of Andromeda's core spilling alongside your own. Multiple bright knots would arc across heaven, outshining any moon, casting delicate tree branch shadows even at midnight. Auroras might flicker under heightened cosmic ray showers, painting polar skies in fierce greens and violets. Yet for all its brilliance, the event would unfold slowly enough that generations could adapt. Grandparents would recount a childhood when the alien spiral was a single smear. Their grandchildren might witness curving tidal tails stretching claw-like across the zenith. Mythologies would update, weaving the changing heavens into fresh origin tales. Farmers would track shifting starfields for planting seasons. Poets would coin new metaphors for love and loss, borrowing from colliding skies. Deep within colliding gas clouds, pressure spikes collapse matter into clusters so dense that chain reactions of starbirth detonate. Supernova follow within a few million years, enriching the medium with heavy metals, gold, platinum, uranium. These elements seed both future planets and the imaginations of any life that might mine them. Collision, therefore, is an alchemist, turning gravitational conflict into treasure, hammering raw hydrogen into jeweled periodicity. You reflect on how galaxies mirror living organisms. They grow, interact, metabolize gas, shed mass, and when conditions demand, merge to become something new. In biological terms, Milky Way and Andromeda are about to undergo a form of cosmic marriage, combining genetic libraries of stars and dust. Their union will reshape everything from star formation, rates to the distribution of dark matter halos. In time, smaller satellite galaxies will also join, absorbed the way droplets coalesce into a larger lake dot throughout the epoch. Gravitational encounters between individual stars remain exceedingly rare. The vast distances inside each stellar neighborhood act like buffers. Instead, the principal chaos arises in the orbits of clouds and smaller dwarf galaxies. Nevertheless, hypothetical inhabitants of a planetary system that drifts to near a passing giant star may experience daylight as bright as two suns, or witness their night torn open by a supernova flash brighter than full noon. Meanwhile, our solar system itself makes its own pilgrimage. Simulations suggest it might be flung outward to the newly formed galaxy's outskirts or drawn inward toward fresh stellar suburbs. Either way, the planets will carry the ancestral memory of two galaxies etched in isotopic ratios within rocks and ice. If distant descendants ever study those rocks, they will find layers marking this grand transition like tree rings recording a forest fire. You drift along a tidal bridge where gas from both galaxies mingles in elongated vortices. Here, new dwarf galaxies may condense like rain droplets along a spider's thread, forming beads of starlight that orbit the larger remnant. These tidal dwarfs testify to the generative side of collision, small but abundant, bearing their own miniature histories. At the macro scale, energy redistribution is astonishing. Angular momentum, once locked into graceful spirals, must be shed. It drains outward through tails, through liberated stars, through radiation, until the leftover core can settle into equilibrium. Think of figure skaters spinning alone, then embracing, arms wide to slow, arms drawn in to speed, legs adjusting to conserve motion. Galaxies follow the same physics, only stretched across 500,000 light-years. When, after a few passes, the two nuclei finally coalesce, the supermassive black holes will spiral into each other through a process called gravitational braking. They will shed orbital energy as ripples in spacetime gravitational waves that travel unimpeded, flattening and stretching the fabric of cosmos in rhythmic pulses. These waves will carry an enormous power output, yet their strain at Earth's location will be smaller than the width of a proton, a testament to the universe's vastness. Advanced observatories may record the signal, a chirp rising in frequency, then falling silent, like a cosmic whale song marking the completion of a journey. Long after the central merger, star formation will wane. Gas reservoirs are finite, and violent feedback from supernova and active galactic nuclei will have heated much of the remaining material, preventing it from collapsing. The new galaxy will gradually settle into a calmer life, filled with red and yellow stars, aging gracefully. It will resemble modern elliptical galaxies, bright at the center and fading toward a smooth halo. Yet collision is not solely an astrophysical spectacle. It is also an existential mirror, just as mountain ranges on Earth rise from colliding plates, prompting new climates and ecologies. Galactic collisions reshape contexts for life on a grand scale. Regions previously metal poor become enriched, enabling rocky planets. Gamma-ray hazards may increase temporarily, yet so do tide pools of dense molecular clouds where chemistry can flourish. Change, even cataclysmic, carries simultaneous risk and promise. The cosmos writes its stories in overlapping chapters. Never pure tragedy nor pure triumph. Consider how perspective alters with time. Looking backward, we regard the looming merger as distant future. Looking forward from within that future, historians of sky will regard the separation between Milky Way and Andromeda as a quaint era of solitude. Their textbooks will feature diagrams of ancestral spirals, labels noting ancient arms named Perseus or Sagittarius. They will mark the epoch when the night blossomed with double cores, when two sets of Cepheid variables overlapped in telescopic fields, and students will struggle to imagine a sky once governed by only one river of light. Even the concept of direction will evolve. Currently, astronomers describe North Galactic Pole, South Galactic Pole, center, anticenter. After the merger, reference frames will reset. Maps will be redrawn. Coordinate systems recalibrated. The cosmos will not have changed its fundamental laws, but its local cartography will be rewritten, reminding consciousness that all maps are provisional. There is poetry in such impermanence. Your ancestors carved myths into the fixed stars, certain Orion would forever hunt the bull. Yet here you witnessed constellations themselves as transient calligraphy, characters penned on shifting parchment. Galactic collision is the universe, turning a page, inviting new myths, new storytellers, new questions about belonging. From a physics standpoint, the overall energy of the system remains conserved, but forms of that energy mutate. Gravitational potential converts to thermal turbulence, to radiant light, to the kinetic ballet of star clusters. A small fraction finds its way into biological metabolism, if life is present. As photons feed photosynthesis on distant planets under new suns. Thus collision is not simply theatre. It may be nourishment. You pause to imagine the emotional palette of civilizations observing the long event. Some might fear disruption, prophesying doom in expanding halos of gamma bursts. Others could celebrate the spectacle, composing symphonies timed to tidal interactions or building temples aligned with new star chains. Artists might paint the sky not with pigments but with choreographed satellites, capturing slow motions in accelerated light shows visible across hemispheres. Perhaps beings, existing only as patterns in quantum substrates, will surf the gravity waves, recording their shapes the way seismologists record earthquakes, extracting information about black hole spins, dense matter equations, dimensions beyond perception. For them, the merger will be both laboratory and playground, eventually. After billions more years, Andromeda will drift toward the Virgo cluster, drawn by the larger gravitational basin of Laniakea. Even this new giant will not stand still. It will join a still broader procession toward the great attractor, reminding you that motion is unending, belonging is always provisional, and even grand unions slip downstream in the cosmic river. In the meantime, light from the combined galaxy will journey outward, carrying signatures of its violent youth to civilizations in other clusters. Telescopes there will catalogue spectral lines broadened by turbulence, note rate spikes in supernova occurrence, and deduce that an enormous dance once took place. They will add footnotes in their star atlases, object exhibits post-merger. Morphology, likely the product of major merger event circa 13 billion years after cosmic dawn. Thus collision becomes communication across distances. Too vast for language, you return your attention to the present moment of approach. Between the galaxies, the silent bridge of intergalactic medium now seethes with stirred particles. Like chocolate melted and swirled into milk, the once clear void adopts marbled streaks. These filaments glow faintly in soft X-rays, evidence of shock-heated gas. The very fabric of space seems to bristle, charged by the anticipation of first contact. Yet the collision is not absolute destruction. Simulations reveal that even as stellar orbits deform, planets and moons typically retain their parent suns. Gravity is selective in its chaos, leaving most systems internally undisturbed. Thus night skies may blaze, but the dawn over alien seas could remain calm, sunlight still glittering on waves. Life continuing its local conversations, oblivious to cosmic drama. You drift through one such tranquil system, a yellow star encircled by sapphire oceans and emerald countenance. From its surface, people look up to find their once modest band of Milky Way replaced by an overlapping double helix of starlight. Cultural calendars adjust. tracking new seasonal markers as interstellar dust reddens sunsets and adds brilliant wisps to twilight. Some nights, meteors from disrupted comet clouds streak in orchestrated storms, teaching philosophers that creation and destruction wear the same cloak. Meanwhile, deep space probes sent centuries earlier by civilizations like theirs, or by your own, navigate the turbulence. Their course corrections reveal the shifting mass distribution, allowing scientists to refine models of dark matter. Data streams etch real-time cartographies of changing gravitational potential effectively, rendering the dance visible to minds far removed. Every thruster burn on a tiny probe becomes a pencil stroke on a portrait of cosmic evolution. There is also art made of data. Musicians translate the orbital trajectories into evolving chords. Visual artists convert density maps into immersive nebula sculptures. Poets craft verses where each line's length mimics the elongation of tidal tales. Across the galaxy, collaboration blossoms, unified by the shared sky event. You notice how even silence changes texture. Radio quiet zones, once reserved for delicate astronomy, fill with harmonic ripples from pulsars that were nudged into new orientations. The background static becomes richer, layered, like a choir warming its throat. Each frequency shift encodes momentum transfer, each new beat a signature of gravitational conversation. Eventually, shock waves of the merger propagate through the interstellar medium, compressing pockets of gas thousands of light years away. In those remote zones, new bursts of star formation ignite, arriving fashionably late to the party. Thus, the collision sets off concentric rings of creation that may last well beyond the initial clash, echoing like ripples after a pebble into a pond. Each ripple is slower, fainter, yet meaningful, ensuring the story does not end abruptly but fades with grace. Imagine looking far into the ultraviolet and seeing fountains of gas spiraling out of the active nucleus where the newly combined black hole feeds. Jets pierce galactic halo, light years long, carving cavities in the circumgalactic medium. These jets act like cosmic weather vanes, pointing along the axis of Farsa's spin. Over time they precesses, tracing cones that seed hot bubbles, which in turn regulate further star formation by heating cold reservoirs. Feedback, always feedback, nature's thermostat, delicate yet potent. Your journey continues into a region where both galaxies' magnetic fields intertwine, field lines knot and reconnect, releasing flares of charged particles that spiral along paths complex as calligraphy. These particles collide with dust grains, initiating chemical reactions that would otherwise require stellar ultraviolet. In this way, the collision becomes a laboratory for rare molecules, some perhaps stepping stones toward life. There is beauty in numbers too. Statisticians track distribution functions of stellar velocities, noting bimodal peaks that flatten and merge over time. Astrophysicists observe metallicity gradients smoothing out evidence of mixing. Computational artists animate these datasets, producing flowing fields reminiscent of Van Gogh skies, revealing hidden coherence amid what appears random to unaided sight at some stage. A star cluster ejected from the core drifts past you. It contains perhaps 1 million suns, all born within a few million years, glowing blue-white, still exuberant. They carry orbiting exoplanets, sculpted from particularly metal-rich gas. You imagine one such world, oceans beneath lavender skies. Its inhabitants painting myths about the broader sky-two spirals merging, a cosmic duet. They may never conceive of galaxies, yet they will revere the pattern, weave it into temple diamonds, sing it in cradle songs. Closer to the time of full overlap, gravitational chaos reaches a crescendo. The night sky of such a planet would dazzle with shooting stars, a rain of dislodged comets blazing in atmospheres. Meteor showers could last weeks, sculpting new legends and perhaps delivering fresh organic material onto soils, jump-starting evolutionary leaps. Thus, even destruction of icy bodies becomes fertilizer in the cosmic garden. While humans worry about celestial collisions in decades or centuries, galaxies consider them intervals of rest. They have endured ancient epochs of close calls, minor mergers, bar instabilities, and spiral regeneration. Each cycle teaches them smoother balance, like dancers refining posture through rehearsal. So when the final embrace arrives, it will feel less like catastrophe and more like completion. A long exhale of two beings who have circled the floor for ages and are ready to bow together. You drift now to a vantage outside both disks, gazing at the combined silhouette. It resembles a cosmic auroral looping arms, tidal tails, glowing knots, shadowed lanes all superimposed in a luminous fresco. The symmetry pleases the mind, yet asymmetry keeps it alive. No two arcs identical, no two starbursts equally bright. Variation ensures long-term richness, just as genetic diversity sustains ecosystems. From here, you feel subtle pressure. The cosmic microwave background itself exerts minute force on dust grains, pushing them outward over billions of years. This pressure, though tiny, participates in shaping the future halo. Even the oldest light has agency. Nothing is without influence, nothing entirely still. Now you close your metaphoric eyes and listen. You hear gravitational waves as droning, cello, supernova shocks as cymbal crashes, newborn stars as chiming bells. The piece crescendos, then settles into a lullaby conducted by dark energy's slow expansion. This music reminds you that the universe speaks in events, but sings in processes. Finally, you contemplate what remains when motion quiets. Andromeda will glow in softer hues, its central black hole fed, its gas reserves thinned. It will drift under the gentle push of dark energy, watching more distant galaxies fade beyond cosmological horizons. The stars will continue to burn, planets to orbit, minds perhaps to wander. But the furious fireworks will have passed. Yet even then, story persists. Brown dwarfs will glow in infrared whispers. White dwarfs will crystallize into diamond hearts. Black holes will evaporate via Hawking radiation, sighing quantum particles into the void. Collision merely redirected the plot. It did not conclude it. You carry this realization as you turn away. Creation and destruction interlace. Cosmic choreography unfolds without hurry, and you, brief as blinking phosphorescence, have nonetheless witnessed epochs in a single breath. Remember this union when your waking life feels fractured. Galaxies to collide, yet from their apparent ruin bloom stars, elements, and futures. Let their patient artistry remind you that upheaval may secretly compose tomorrow's calm. You rest on the gently cooling edge of time. The fury of collision has ebbed, leaving a hush that feels endless. To once spiral cities have folded into one, spacious and calm. You drift beneath its freshly rounded glow and listen. Andromeda, a name that rolls, slow and creamy across your tongue. Wide, quiet, majestic. No longer a pinwheel, nor yet a perfect ellipse. It hangs in space like a polished seashell, smoothed by eons of tidal light. Here, star-birth storms are past. The hottest blues have burned themselves brief and brilliant, leaving ripened amber suns, mellow and deliberate. They scatter overhead, like late summer lanterns, casting honeyed halos through the thinning dust. Gas reservoirs are shallow now. Like wells after harvest, they hold only reflections, mirroring serene faces of the stars that remain. A few clouds linger in sheltered eddies, but their whispers of future flame grow softer each million years. You glide through the new core, once two hearts, now merged. The central black hole spins with relaxed authority, having dined on chaos and settled into slow digestion. Jets that once blazed have narrowed to dim, disciplined beacons, guiding rather than scorching. Around that stable center, stars trace gentle circles, their motions synchronized like dancers after a finale. Gravitational turbulence has relaxed into tide pools of predictability. No tidal tails remain, no faint threads of ancient starlight, archived in the halo like pressed flowers on a world orbiting an ochre dwarf. A lone ocean reflects the diluted glow of hazel skies. There, life of it persists, moves slowly, too, savoring long twilights and generous seasons. For the galaxy itself has lengthened its breath. Cosmic night is darker than before. Dark energy has pushed remote galaxies beyond the reach of any new photons. They fade from the ledger of the visible, leaving Andromeda ringed by widening solitude. You sense this isolation not as loss, but as spaciousness, room for quiet thought, room for every star's gentle stories to unfold without hurry. Look toward the outskirts. The ancient solar system orbits there now, relegated to a serene suburb. Its sun has become a white ember, still tracing the new galaxy's rim like a patient pilgrim. Planets that endured the metamorphosis glide in stately silence. Icy moons glittering beneath faint ultraviolet. Humanity, if it survived, has long since changed, perhaps latticed into artificial nebulae, or woven as poems in magnetic stone. Whatever their form, they read the sky and know. Before them stands the monument of a completed union. Within the thick halo, globular clusters drift like gilded bees. Many were born in once separate satellites, captured during the towering dance. Now their paths are gentle ellipses, hives humming with ancient red stars that pulse like slow drums. From the vantage of such a cluster, Andromeda's core appears, a distant gold coin, its light filtered through curtains of tenuous dust. Astronomers, their organic silicon or stranger, reconstruct their galaxy's origin from motions written in the sky, charting twin metallicity peaks that testify to spirals once intertwined, yet the future still draws forward. Dark matter halo surrounds this grand shell like a subtle exoskeleton, guiding leftover dwarfs toward assimilation. The process continuing, but in minor key, an echo of earlier crescendos, far out. Relic satellites drift like half-remembered lullabies. Their dark matter cores persist. Their stars are ruby dwarfs and cooling subdwarfs. Some of these islands shelter archives, libraries etched into diamond wafers, chronicles of two ancestral spirals preserved against decay. Autonomous drones polish facets so that condensed starlight remains legible. Every few million years, they relay condensed summaries inward, a quiet pulse reminding the core its outskirts still think, still dream. Closer in, equilibrium reigns. Streams of ionized gas coil lazily along magnetic highways, sketching pale auroras across the circumgalactic medium. The old spiral arms have melted into overlapping curtains, yet careful tracers can still reconstruct their paths, like tree rings hidden beneath seasoned bark. Astronomers annotate these residual resonances, turning kinematic fossils into symphonies performed by virtual orchestras that play the past into the present, ever so gently. You move outward again, slipping through regions where stars thin to individual songs. Beyond lies intergalactic dark, now deeper, expansion accelerating like a silent inhale that never releases. Photons from outside can no longer arrive. The microwave background has redshifted to faint radio-sized dot. In this era, cosmology becomes archaeology. Scientists dig for answers within their own halo, their instruments probing relic neutrinos, the quantum hiss of evaporating black holes, the gravitational murmur of ancient mergers. Knowledge narrows in scope, yet deepens. Scholars catalogue every surviving planet, every brown dwarf, every itinerant comet. Andromeda becomes their universe, vast enough for countless questions, intimate enough for eventual comprehension. Perhaps they build shells around cooling stars, hoarding photons that grow ever precious. Perhaps they migrate toward red dwarfs, whose candles burn for trillions of years. Maybe they script consciousness onto lattice of degenerate matter, ensuring memory endures while light declines, and still new beauty arises. Near the core, a failed gas giant wanders into a stable zone, its clouds shimmering with auroral ribbons fed by residual magnetism. Dust rings gather around it, catching stray sunlight, crafting a slow-turning jewel box for distant eyes. Elsewhere, cooling white dwarfs collide, sparking rare pearls of supernova light in an aging sea. Their brief blaze sprinkles precious metals onto waiting worlds, a final infusion of novelty for life, attentive enough to notice in the grand calendar. Trillions of years have spilled since cosmic dawn. Entropy still climbs, yet complexity survives, its pace now meditative. Black holes whisper mass away, white dwarfs solidify into black diamonds. Proton decay has yet to speak. Andromeda shines on, a lighthouse surrounded by immeasurable dark. You circle back toward its calm heart, observing how stellar density smooths, how colors drift to deeper ambers. Collision, once violent, has birthed. The gentlest monument hover now over a terraformed moon. Gardens bloom under mirrored suns. Residents stroll among silver-leafed trees, sharing myths of the great merger. Museums display time-lapse murals, millions of frames compressed into minutes, so children can watch galaxies court, clash, and mellow, then carry the memory into stiller centuries. Outside, engineers tune megastructures to harvest thin exergy, residual gas drift, the weak heat of dying stars, rotation of aging black hole hearts. Civilization's pulse synchronizes with Andromeda's slow heartbeat, finding poetry in efficiency, elegance in survival. Curiosity persists aflame that even thin air cannot quench. Quantum probes venture into halo voids, seeking whispers of physics beyond the shrinking horizon. Exploration turns inward, depth over distance, nuance over speed. At last, you look once more into the cosmic night. Beyond this galaxy's edge, darkness stretches silent, yet alive with virtual possibility. Some, when far ahead, even atomic. Bonds will loosen, but for now, structures stand, thought endures, and awe still finds new canvases. You inhale one long, unhurried breath, metaphoric lungs filling with quiet starlight, and exhale gratitude into the echoing dark. Andromeda glows behind your closed eyes, proof that after collision, serenity blooms. You rest in the soft afterglow of cosmic merger, suspended where Andromeda's gentle light fades into deeper night. History has slowed, but questions still move like quiet fish beneath a still pond. They circle, glint, disappear, reappear. You let them come, you let them go. Some wear names, others remain silhouettes, yet all invite the same delicious pause. What remains unsolved? You follow the first question the way a kite follows wind. It leads toward expansion, toward the hush that stretches fabric itself. Scientists call it dark energy, but the phrase is more lantern than explanation. Nobody knows what fuels the outward swell. You picture space as bread dough, rising unseen in a warm kitchen. Galaxies are raisins sliding farther apart. Carried by yeast you cannot taste. Is dark energy a field, a fluid, a mirage in mathematics? Maybe it is chocolate melted through milk, sweet but invisible once stirred. It hides between every photon, nudging distance wider, smoothing curvature like careful iron on linen. You imagine tiny hands pressing walls outward from inside. The hands never tire. The walls never resist. The kitchen grows without windows. You drift farther, holding that loaf in mind, and notice another mystery glowing like embers under ash. Alien life, not imagination, but potential. Out here, planetary systems still circle quiet as suns. Some worlds simmer beneath thick blankets of greenhouse haze. Others cradle subsurface oceans warmed by tidal kneading. You listen for sighs in radio hush, for chemical signatures twirling in stellar spectra. No definitive whisper arrives, yet uncertainty itself feels companionable. Possibility wraps you like a woven shawl. The cosmos may be teeming or near empty. Both options spark equally bright awe. If life is common, you share kinship with countless shapes of wonder. If rare, your own consciousness becomes a rare bloom clinging to cosmic cliffs, deserving fierce tenderness. More questions drift in, like snowflakes refusing to settle. How precisely did inflation begin? What seeded the first fluctuations that became stars, galaxies, thoughts? Does time possess a basement, a grain, a tick too fine for current ears? Could there be dimensions folded so tight they sing only to gravitons, curling around themselves like secret notes in a pocket? You breathe slowly, counting heartbeats. Wonder expands like lungs. Uncertainty does not suffocate. It vents. Each unknown is a skylight, inviting starlight into rooms that would otherwise feel airless. You remember childhood nights when mystery felt heavy. Now it feels buoyant, lifting eyelids, slowing pulse, promising unending paths to walk. The next question lands softly. What is consciousness in cosmic terms? Neurons flash electrochemical fireflies inside wet night forest. Yet awareness appears in many gizzards hive. Algorithm, maybe quantum foam itself. Could galaxies think through magnetic field lines, or black holes dream in escaping Hawking whispers? You cannot decide, but you sense a tension weaving through scales. Then gravity returns to mind. No longer as architect of collision, but as unsolved puzzle. Does quantum gravity wear discrete pixels? Can spacetime tear like fabric caught on a nail? Theories multiply strings, vibrating tiny symphonies. Loops forming quantized area quanta, holograms projecting depth from flat shores. None signed final treaties with experiment. They wait, patient, for clever hands and new detectors. You float. near a drifting observatory mirrors, cooled to near absolute zero, chasing faint cosmic microwave polarization twists. Maybe one day those twists will reveal inflation's fingerprint, or cosmic strings slicing backgrounds into narrow slits. For now, data trickles like snowmelt, filling small cups of insight, each precious, each provisional dot. Another enigma surfaces, matantimatter imbalance. Why does anything exist at all to ponder existence? Early universe produced pairs almost equally, yet a subtle tilt favored matter. Some unknown asymmetry law tipped scales like a quiet wink. Physicists search decay channels, spin correlations, CP violating angles, hoping to catch that wink mid-blink. You find comfort in this detective work. The collaborative hum across centuries. Uncertainty becomes communal music, each generation adding notes, refining tempo. The melody never resolves into final chord. Instead it spirals, modulates, invites voices yet unborn. Beyond physical riddles, fate itself looms. Will dark energy accelerate until atoms drift apart, a big rip shredding every binding? Or will expansion slow, reverse, collapse into big crunch, recycling stars into primordial fire? Maybe entropy leads to heat death, a faint sigh where only black hole whispers, and proton decay persist. Each scenario is both epilogue and prologue, story still writing itself. You catch yourself smiling at cosmic humility. Not knowing becomes a lullaby, slow and repetitive, easing restless desire for closure. Answers matter, but so does the gentle music of approach, the hush before revelation, the collective breath scholars share while watching data load. You recall an ancient parable, horizon recedes as traveler moves. Knowledge widens ignorance. Outer darkness remains, but lantern light grows, revealing new shorelines of uncharted dark that interface the lit boundaries where curiosity camps. Boiling tea, exchanging stories under expanding canopy within. Your mind's eye, you arrange mysteries like stones in Zen garden. Dark energy stone at center, alien life stone near edge, quantum gravity pebble nestled between ripples raked by thought. You step around, appreciate negative space. Garden is never finished. Wind rearranges sand, birds drop seeds, rain redraws furrows. You feel sleepy satisfaction in leaving questions unanswered tonight. Instruments will keep vigil, algorithms sift sky, but you may drift into dream where solutions hover like fireflies, glowing just out of reach. That is enough. Wonder tucks blanket under your chin, promises more tomorrow. Before eyelids close, final puzzle flits forth. Why does beauty accompany truth? Equations elegant as snowflakes often describe reality best. Symmetry groups dance, Lagrangians hum, and universe hums along. Maybe aesthetics is survival heuristic. Maybe cosmos is inherently poetic. You allow possibility to rest unmeasured. Dims behind you. Questions shimmer ahead like lighthouse beams across fog. You float between cradle of unknowing rocking gently, tide of curiosity lapping whole that you drift on, tracing the subtle fragrance of neutrinos' ghost particles streaming through flesh and rock alike. Their masses are whispers, their flavors flicker. Like candle shadows, physicists chase them down deep mines, beneath kilometers of ice, inside vats of liquid argon, seeking answers hidden in near-silent flashes of blue Serenkov light. Each detection is a syllable in an unfinished alphabet. Neutrinos hint at stories of stellar cores and violent supernova, of early cosmic fusion and possible sterile cousins hiding behind the standard model's curtain. Whether those cousins exist remains open, like an extra stanza waiting for a poem's return. You imagine a music sheet with blank measures, awaiting notes that only neutrinos can sing. The unknown also lingers in cosmic voids immense, hollows between filaments where galaxies grow sparse. These voids are not absolute emptiness, faint. Wisps of gas flow like river mist. Temperature, motion, density, all behave strangely here, testing ideas about gravity's form on grandest scales. Some propose fifth forces dancing in low-density ballrooms, masked from crowded regions by chameleon cloaks. You feel the void as a quiet cathedral, its aisles echoing with theoretical footfalls. Closer to experiential scale, biosignatures tease. Telescopes, astronomers dissect starlight passing through exoplanet atmospheres, hunting for oxygen, methane, dimetho, sulfide. Yet even detection triggers new puzzles. Are these gases byproducts of simple chemistry or breath of living cells? What thresholds separate geology from biology? Instruments sharpen, criteria evolve, doubt persists, nurturing careful interpretation, and then technosignatures, the speculative sparks of engineered process. Laser arrays, megastructures dimming stars, narrowband beacons nestled in radio noise. To search for them is to ask, what forms does curiosity assume elsewhere? Could distant civilizations deliberately hide, cloaking outputs under cosmic microwave blankets? Might they broadcast only quantum-entangled whispers requiring keys we do not yet forge? The absence of evidence becomes puzzle, not verdict, human. Culture's limits enter frame, too. Funding cycles, political appetites, philosophical biases all shape which mysteries receive lantern light. What paradigms hide in plain sight because language lacks scaffolding to raise them? You ponder how ancient scholars missed plate tectonics by lacking global mapping. How future thinkers may pity today's blind spots. Mystery is partly architecture. What observatories built? What theories permitted? Astrobiology asks how life ignites from chemistry. Laboratory soups replicate hydrothermal vents, lightning-struck pools, ice-grained surfaces. Amino acids emerge, RNA strands replicate clumsily, yet spark of metabolism eludes capture. Perhaps life's origin is not singular but gradient, continuum. Border between non-living and living blurred like dawn sky. Accepting gradient reframes search strategies, encouraging detection of partial nascent systems beyond Earth, another. Question tiptoes. What is time's arrow? Entropy frames, arrowhood, yet microscopic laws remain reversible. Why memory only reads past, not future? Some evoke cosmological conditions, low entropy, Big Bang. Others envision quantum branching, forging subjective asymmetry. You cradle both proposals, letting them oscillate like twin lullabies. Dark fluid models attempt to merge dark matter and dark energy into single substance, with behavior morphing by scale. Tests remain early, but concept illustrates creativity. Thriving in ignorance's shade. The cosmos, like a generous teacher, offers vast blackboard. Chalk of mathematics, sketches, guesses that observation, then erases or affirms. You think of mystery as ecosystem. Predators are experiments devouring. Weak theories, prey are fragile hypotheses. Symbiosis blossoms in interdisciplinary dialogue. Health of ecosystem demands unsolved spaces niches where novelty evolves. Complete understanding would ironically starve curiosity. Thus, unknowns are not weeds. They are wildflowers sustaining intellectual bees. Quietly, you turn inward, recognizing personal unknowns, hidden memories, future choices, dreams not yet dreamt. Microcosmic uncertainty mirrors macrocosmic expanse. Breath becomes meditation on scale, each inhale exploring interior galaxies of emotion, each exhale releasing attachment to mastery. Yet hope persists that some mysteries will yield. You picture future children, eyes bright under night sky reshaped by merged galaxy, learning answers you now cradle as questions. They may recite dark energy's equation of state like lullaby, greet alien neighbors as pen pals, navigate quantum gravity for recreation. Their wonder will shift toward deeper horizons, ones you cannot name. Your drift slows near a luminous archive satellite, containing centuries of unanswered queries engraved in layered diamond. Each layer awaits next era's knowledge beam too. Unlock. You add your own question. How does wonder survive long nights of uncertainty? Laser etches the phrase. Then satellite seals itself, drifting. Finally, you consider purpose of unknowing. It softens certainty, invites humility, fosters collaboration. In cosmic bedtime, not knowing converts restlessness into curiosity, like turning over pillow to cool side. You feel pillow now fabric of spacetime, stuffed with dark energy, fluff cradling head of every thinker. Mystery lingers, humming, like a night insect, guiding thoughts beyond the farthest measurable dawn of wonder. You settle back into the hush of familiar gravity. Earth's soft pull gathers around your ankles, a memory of mud, grass, ocean, salt. But there is new space. Inside your ribs, wide and star-bright, freshly mapped, you breathe, and galaxies echo. You blink, and photons pause. Every sense remembers distance, the way skin remembers rain. Cool and gentle, whispering arrival. Your journey began in darkness, but darkness you know now as cradle, a velvet pocket full of becoming. You left it, crossed bridges of light, touched spirals, nurseries, silent hearts, and listened to tides no moon could raise. Now you stand under a country sky, one you once called ordinary. A cricket chirps near your heel. Clouds drift like quiet countenance. The Milky Way arches overhead, yet you feel Andromeda too, threaded invisibly through bone, pulling with familial gravity. You think of atoms in your fingertips, hydrogen birthed moments after the Big Bang, carbon brewed in red giants, calcium forged in stellar embers. They traveled cosmic highways just to arrive as your hand, ready to touch a dew-lit leaf. You lift that leaf. Tiny veins mirror galactic arms. Chlorophyll drinks a photon, converting starlight into sugar, fuel for another breath. You taste distant suns in every exhale. A child's laughter floats from a porch. The sound seems larger, as though air itself stretches to carry joy farther tonight. You realize you are porous. Wind, scent, birdsong, cosmic rays flow through without knocking. Boundaries soften until self feels like shoreline, meeting place of ocean and land. When you walked among globular clusters, you learned that age can shimmer. Here, an elder's face glows the same, wrinkled like tidal tales, creased by gravitational stories. You listen to her speak of seasons, and hear rotation curves beneath tales of plantings and harvests. Fireflies rise in twilight, little supernova, flashing silent moors. You answer with a slow wave, an orbiting satellite of flesh. In their brief light, you glimpse the principle of return. Burst, fade, darkness, burst again. Inside your chest, heartbeats echo Kiphide rhythms. Diastole stretches. Systole contracts, a living luminosity relation, measuring distance in size. You are your own telescope, reading history in red and blue shifts of pulse. Dream, memory itself feels planetary, layers of rock stacked in thought. Some strata hold ammonite spirals, others fresh ash from recent fires. All are pressed by gravity of time, yet gaps remain, mystery fossils waiting excavation. Proof that forgetting is part of geologic process. You kneel by a puddle. Streetlight reflects broken constellations. Surface tension warps images the way mass bends starlight. A single ant struggles at the edge. You offer a twig. Rescue feels like microgravity assist. Tiny body swinging into new orbit. Walking home, you pass a window glowing amber. Inside, someone reads a book, letters scattering photons into eyes. You think of how language travels, ink galaxies across paper universes, each sentence a wormhole from one mind to another. You smile, unsure who rescues whom, the reader or the written starfield. In kitchen lamplight, steam rises from a cup of tea, spiraling like miniature nebula. Condensation on glass reunites, drops merging, galaxies colliding, coalescing into transparency. You sip warmth, tasting merger. Night deepens. Silence stretches, but is not empty. Subatomic particles still chatter. Virtual pairs pop into existence. Brief fireworks applauded by vacuum. You recognize the encore from far-off quantum stage. You lie down, earth cool beneath spine. Above, Perseid meteors begin. Dust grains tracing luminous epitaphs for old comets sacrificed to heat. Each streak a syllabus of impermanence. Between meteors, darkness persists, but you know better than call it void. It is a canvas primed with possibility, pigment ground from unasked questions. Somewhere, another observer looks up from another world, wondering if anyone else wonders. You close. Eyes. Behind lids, after images bloom. Andromedas spiral. Milk dromedas glow. Time machines made of glass. Black holes humming cradle songs. They fade into one gentle radiance, soft as breath on mirror. Thought drifts to tomorrow. Sunlight will scatter blue again. Plants will tilt like radio dishes, receiving fusion music from 93 million miles. You will walk among them, small, bright, unfinished, carrying passports stamped with stardust. Maybe you will teach a child how to locate Polaris, or explain why shadows shorten at noon, or bake bread and watch it rise, thinking of cosmic dough, expanding. Every act can echo cosmos if you angle attention just so. You vow to angle often, to let wonder leak through slightest cracks of routine, like morning light through curtains, striping everything gold. A breeze lifts hair. You remember interstellar winds, ionized songs threading void. This earth breeze smells of pine and soil, yet its lineage traces back, molecule by molecule, to the same cosmic broth. Gratitude settles, not grand, but granular, in freckles of awareness, for photons that journeyed, for eyes to catch, for neurons that translate into awe. You accept unfinished maps. Mystery is spacious pillow. Questions are gentle tides, rocking small boats of thought. You pledge to remain buoyant, to let currents guide nights when certainty sleeps, somewhere, Future stars will form, future galaxies will collide, future minds will gaze and feel this same bright ache. You have joined their lineage, spark in night. Part of universal conversation, letters swirling in ever-writing sky. Sleep hovers like eclipse shadow. You welcome its soft transit, knowing orbit continues beneath lids. Dreams will chart elliptical inquiries, returning with dawn. For now, you rest, still aglow with stardust. Tip of cosmic filament that feels like one small heart beating against infinity. You drift near sleep, yet mind wanders once more, backward through journey's chapters, revisiting each lesson like shells pocketed from a shore. You recall first light you ever saw, photon letter delivered across eons, teaching that to see is to meet ancient time. You remember asking what a galaxy truly is, and learning it is process, not place. Music, not marble. You traced your cosmic address, layer by gentle layer, and felt size translate into belonging, not smallness. You crossed the silent bridge where gravity hummed like cello strings, felt the hush between spirals, and understood that emptiness is a pregnant pause. Andromeda welcomed you, taught hospitality of distance, how neighbor can be millions of years away, yet close as breath. You joined her stars, heard quiet power of black hole heart, learned governance by invisible hands, found strength in softness. Dark matter cradled you next, its unseen tides proving that reality is more layered than sensors admit. Through glass time machines you caught history like falling snow, flakes melting on tongue of attention. You walked nurseries, graves, and gardens between stars, saw life of matter, the spiral of becoming. You witnessed galaxies collide, destruction recycling into bright harvest, and, after merger, felt hush of maturity. A lull that breathed stories in lower voice, unanswered questions, then sang lullaby, inviting humility's comfort, reminding that knowledge and wonder share the same bed. Now all threads weave inside you, tapestry glowing behind chest walls. Each thought pulls shimmer from a different strand, yet pattern feels unified, like constellations invented from dots that never meet. You turn onto side, ear pressed to ground. Subsurface tremors, murmur, plate tectonics, mantle plumes, water, tables migrating through stone. Planet itself whispers lullaby, its iron heart beating the bass line to your drifting melody. Crickets tune to that rhythm, so do distant lightning pulses. Resonance travels through root networks, through sleeping animals' chests, through microcurrents in ocean tide pools. You perceive global heartbeat, slow but steady, ancient as magma, recent as breath, and still farther out. Solar wind brushes magnetosphere, auroral curtains rustle near poles. Those greens and reds are Earth's own connection to subverted coronal songs. You sense how intimately each layer of scale interlocks, planet cradled by star, star by galaxy, galaxy by cluster, cluster by cosmic web, web by laws etched in vacuum. Foam.zoom inward, cell by organelle, organelle by molecule, molecule by atom, atom by quantum field, field by maybe strings, string by mathematics, mathematics by wonder. Wonder appears at every tier, like repeating motif in symphony, echoing. Theme of curiosity that unites lepton with supercluster. You smile, eyes still closed. You feel yourself at crossroads of all these hierarchies, a tiny yet conscious vertex, able to turn gaze both inward and outward, translate between scales, compose metaphors bridging gulf. You vow to act as messenger, carry starlight knowledge into morning chores, bring soil scent into discussions of galaxies. In laundry's tumbling vortex, see spiral density waves. In traffic flow, perceive orbital resonance. In bread dough rising, witness cosmic expansion. You promise to guard tenderness, for universe is sturdy, yet hearts are fragile sensors needed to measure beauty. So you will speak softly, like photons after long travel, arriving as caress not. Glare, thought shifts to others. Friends burdened by gravity of worries, strangers adrift in personal voids. Maybe you can lend them small telescopes, not of glass but of perspective, help them lean back. Fitting trouble inside starry frame so fear shrinks, awe grows, because awe is nourishing. It waters roots of empathy, reminds that differences are local, shared atoms, universal. Speak this truth often, you tell yourself. Let it ripple across interactions like gentle gravitational wave, drifting near a dream. Memory from childhood surfaces, standing in driveway, watching sparkler trace loops. In July dusk. Back then, you thought sparks vanished. Now you know they joined dust, joined atmosphere, joined you. Every combustion a miniature supernova, releasing elements, birthing possibility. So to your life small flares, moments bright, quickly dim, but ashes fertilize tomorrow. Legacy, not fixed monument, but particles entering ongoing cycle. This comforts you. It means perfection unnecessary. Participation enough. You breathe slower. Heartbeat and cricket song align. Night smells of wet soil and ozone, faint promise of rain. Water cycle, another cosmic echo. Evaporation like stellar wind. Condensation like nebula collapse. Rainfall like star birth. Rivers like galactic rotation. Ocean like dark matter sea. Evaporation again. Where does cycle end? Perhaps nowhere. Perhaps pause before new form. Just like journey tonight, called ending, but truly spiral, sending you inward now. Tomorrow, outward again. Dawn will soon lighten east. Sun, your local furnace, will rise between branches. Photons only 8 minutes old, practically newborn, compared to light you met tonight. You will greet them, feel warmth, brew coffee, taste minor star stuff, in cups swirling surface. You will see galaxies again, foam islands merging, drifting. Even mundane ritual will echo dance of long ago spirals, and you will smile, fueled by memory, glowing with quiet cosmic humor, because you know secret sages keep. Everything is microcosm, everything macrocosm, and consciousness thread stitches. Both you feel sleep envelope limbs, heavier than dark matter sea, softer than nebula dust. You relinquish watch, trusting gravity to hold body, universe to hold spirit, mystery to hold dreams. Just before surrender, you whisper thanks to photons that traveled, to neurons that received, to words that carried, to silence that cradled. Then, thought flickers out, not as extinction, but as star setting to let another hemisphere gaze its light. Night continues without witness. Stars swirl, galaxies drift, entropy sings, life tries. But spark remains, banked inside gentle breath, ready to kindle again when eyelids open to new sky, somewhere beyond current reach. Another traveler begins their own ascent from ground to galaxy. They will write new metaphors, invent fresh constellations, discover questions you never thought to ask. Their journey will not replace yours, but resonate, overlapping riffs in endless songs. Perhaps your stardust atoms will ride comet trail and sparkle in their campfire, glitter in telescope lens, they polish, pulse in finger that sketches orbit on the classroom chalkboard. In that sense, voyage is never singular. It is relay carried by matter itself, each spark handing heat forward, each mind adding verse. Knowing this, you surrender easier, trusting continuation. Universe will keep speaking, and sparks will keep answering, tracing bright loops across unfolding dark. Writing history on moving parchment we call spacetime. Wonder travels farther than any map. Somewhere in the quiet beyond sleep, a new question flickers, waiting for you to wake and follow. Its faint, inviting light,